Isang love letter para sa'yo. Feast servant. Servant mahal. Alam namin napapagod ka rin. Minsan nagdududa. Yung nakakapansin ba? Yung mga simpleng bagay na ginagawa mo. Yung tahimik na dasal. Yung pabor na hindi mo na mabilang. Yung pagngiti kahit sa loob-loob mo, hirap. Yung pagtulong kahit walang pumapalakpak. Pero gusto namin malaman mo, nakikita ka. Ni Lord at ng mga taong pinaglilingkuran mo. Sa bawat sakripisyo, sa bawat maliit na oo, nakikita ka. Hindi to tungkol sa dami ng ginagawa. Hindi sa laki ng posisyon, kundi sa laki ng puso. Sa pagmamahal mong hindi humihinto. Itong feast natin, ang tahanan na to, nabuo dahil sa mga pusong katulad ng sayo. Hindi to nagsimula sa ilaw, o sa tugtugan, o magandang LED wall. Nagsimula to sa isang taong nagsabi ng, sige, ako na lang. Nagambag, nagpakita, nanalangin, habang wala nakatingin. Tapos dumami tayo. May sariling feast, may sariling LG, may sariling service. At sa bawat kwento at usad ng oras, laging may servant katulad mo na punong-puno ng halaga. At kung makakalimutan mong mahalaga ka, eto ang paalala. Nakikita ka. At sa puso ng community na to, mahal na mahal ka.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
Let's solve 10 navigational issues right at this moment with Mapping 101 Thursdays on 2 DP24 integrated media channels with your host, yours truly, Dear Paul. Hello and good evening, this is your Durbo speaking, and now we are in the middle of this crisis situation wherein we have some news here before we proceed to the Mapping 101 Thursdays proper, wherein 50% discount on rail fares got occurred for both MRT lines 2 and 3. Meanwhile, yesterday, President Marcos had ordered the Department of Transportation to defer the fare increase, in which it had sparked negative reactions from the transport groups. And as a result of these developments, transport strike got occurred in some areas of Metro Manila and even in Metro Cebu, where we have gotten reports of transport strike, and some universities and colleges have switched into the online mode of learning, or the online classes that are synchronous in nature, should we say. And of course, if we have realized the previous Mapping 101 Thursdays experience, wherein there are several navigation issues that we have identified, and of course we have to correct them on the previous days prior to our Mapping 101 Thursdays. And of course, we are going to the Mapping 101 Thursdays result, particularly on this one-way scheme that got implemented shortly after the District 1 Action Center got relocated. And therefore, we have to correct them right away, previously edited offline or off the broadcast. And of course, we have to fulfill some sort of obligations that we have to comply with, particularly to those are going through the booking or motorcycle taxi service, that sometimes they got mistaken into the restricted flow of traffic. And of course, you have to summon them in advance in order not to place everyone on danger. And now we are going to check on this previous result of the Mapping 101 Thursdays like this. As you can see, we have corrected the flow of traffic for the District 1 Action Center, wherein the one-way got into effect for the Capillian Street. We're yet to be sure if we have read it right. And the one-way flow for Guerrero and Pio Ponco and even San Antonio streets got into effect. Such one-way traffic scheme had improved the traffic flow as well. Especially that we have to direct everyone into the correct path, and even with the presence of the TTMD from Quezon City, errant riders have gone wrong way by entering into a restricted flow of traffic, which and then have violated the traffic rules. And likewise, If we're going to zoom this out, we have something to ponder about, especially on mapping such one-way routing where some of the motorists have frowned about, saying that they might going too far. But in reality, this would solve numerous congestion issues that had been occurred while the setup is still at the two-way traffic flow. Conventional measures like converting certain streets into a one-way flow or even placing a median would resolve the congestion issues in some parts of the city, especially when we have been grown up, particularly from Dasmariñas cities, should we say that most of the roadways and even highways have gone into conversion with the divided roadway or highway with a one-way flow each direction that has been separated with a median or a traffic island, so as to prevent some sort of incidents and accidents like what late Representative PD Barsagav described as the lifesaver against the deadly head-on collision. And likewise, in cases for pala-pala, this has been solved to prevent some sort of flow of traffic going into a wrong direction. And we are wondering why some modifications have occurred, especially on the part of Idesha Boulevard, making previously a left to a highway, northbound highway stretch, in which it is unacceptable. And as a result of this, we have to, go for another solution that needs to be refined, making sure that the entire highway stretches have installed with the median or a traffic island to ensure the compatibility with the safety systems that we had. But however, for some reason, errant motorists have making an illegal left on after the Piera Bridge, where it should not happen at all. And instead, enter first through the island's avenue, just to make sure that the traffic safety is at optimal level. And likewise, we have an upcoming mall at the Nyugan Paliparan 1, close to the Unitap and Fanside Ningangan, and Wilcon Depot. And likewise, speaking of some updates here, the Cavite Laguna Expressway from Silang all the way to General Trias are still at the finishing touches, and sooner or later this could be opened at any time upon the announcement from the Cavite Laguna Expressway official social media pages. And likewise, there's some stretches, especially with these updates from the Q City bus, wherein some configuration to the Quezon City Hall interchange had modified, particularly for QC4 and QC5, where both of these routes have moved already into GSIS Quezon City, which is shy away from the project hub that is currently under construction. And that resolves the crowding issue for most passengers. And may we remind everyone that bringing of plastic bottle, plastic packaging materials are strictly prohibited in Quezon City pursuant to the local ordinance 2868 and 2876. Violators could get charged or apprehended accordingly, with a possible confiscation of such plastic materials. And this would force the entire MRT7 management, especially if this got opened, to enforce such similar policy in order to avoid such liabilities. And now, going into this fire-related disaster that we got in NIA Road, most evacuees are still at the evacuation shelter closest to Senador Defensor Santiago Avenue, corner ML Quezon Avenue. And if there are in need of donations, may we request everyone to please donate it to the authorized NGOs with DSWD authority. Likewise, for next week, we will be going on a tour instead, especially that there is an upcoming event that would inhibit us from going live from our studio. And hopefully there would be a newest unit that we could get into as permanent studio for us to proceed into this live broadcast or stream. And likewise, for the entire Quezon City, we have established already the entire Q City bus networks, and therefore we advise everyone, especially if you're coming from Eastwood City, to use this Eastwood North or C5 Eastwood North Gentex interchange station. That is the only authorized bus stop for that destination. Likewise, that said station is nearest to the St. John Paul II Parish Church inside Eastwood City. And now we're going to have some sort of updates with regards to this Metro Manila subway, as they have currently in talks with some property developers to use some portions of land in order to have this subway station constructed. And likewise, Metro Manila subway, Ortigas, and Shaw Boulevard stations are actively constructing. And likewise, we have to remind everyone that there's always a designated bus stops, especially for those relying on buses. And now, we remind everyone to please adhere on the bus stops in order to avoid inconvenience. And likewise, there is a Pasig River May Bunga station, which may take 10 to 15 minutes of walk from C5 Eagle Street Station. And that's the opposite SM Center, Pasig. And now we have spotted such erratic mapping here, wherein this should never happen at all, especially if we're going to have a designated loading and unloading zone, especially for this one. Preferably it must be at the tunnel or below the bridge, where some errand mappers have mistaken this despite our request to abide with the local ordinances several times. And we have to correct this as soon as possible, when we could have this corrected. And putting this aside, we have to log in first, but we wouldn't show it to you due to some sensitive information that is being involved. Hopefully you can understand our point, particularly when it comes to confidentiality of information. And now we have to undergo some sort of authentication, in which is now being required. And speaking of authentication, punks are now required to convert everything into a mobile base or app base OTPs to resolve some sort of reported cheating or phishing attacks or man-in-the-middle attacks that pose security threat to our fellow netizens. And likewise, we aim for a better internet security, wherein there should have no cases of authentication related attacks against the real user or the real netizen. as a safe tip for everyone, especially if we're going to correct this, particularly on the ID editor. If we're going to have this corrected, please make sure that everyone is well aware of the implication, particularly on mapping such restricted, or should I say restricted portion, where this should be made no longer available. And in this scenario, we have moved this out of the bridge area since it is no longer allowed by the local ordinance, and therefore this should be well aware of and respected by everyone. And that one is a quick fix coming from yours truly. It's a zero relations except for this. Wherein we have to confirm this one is a legitimate one. And now this one is the approved bus stop for Osayo in Pasig. Well, there's another legit bus stop which is strategically located within the retail block. These are the quick fixes, wherein we have took down the bus stops that are deemed contrary to this established rules. after such and the even a historical one. And now, after these corrections or several corrections that they have made, particularly on what happened to the District 1 Action Center, we have improved connectivity already. But however, if we're going to edit route relations, it is prudent for us to edit through the Java OpenStreetMap editor instead. And now, we have uploaded the live edit that we have rectified. If you have any further questions or concerns, just send us a message to our DP24 official Facebook page and we are ready to respond on what has to be responded. And so, this background is a C5 Ortigas East interchange. And we're going back to the studio. And as what we have realized enough, that some of our fellow Grab drivers and Move It riders have been problematic for some. And we have some news coming from the Quezon City government wherein cycling is still safer option for select routes. Especially the 206-kilometer bicycle routes that have long established. and the city have won the most bike-friendly city on Mobility Awards. We urge everyone, especially if you're going through driving, let's respect cyclists' spaces at all times and do not attempt to enter the restricted lanes of traffic. And hopefully everyone is serious about these measures. And now, tomorrow will be the Eid holiday, day 1. And of course, Eid Mubarak to our Muslim brothers and sisters. And on 21 is the day 2 of Eid holiday, in which the Bangsamoro Grand Mufti Abdul Rauf Gialani have announced this evening, citing the Bangsamoro Darul Iftah that the moon sighting occur from the afternoon to sunset, and the result of the announcement is that the crescent moon was not sighted. Therefore, the Eid will officially end on the day 2 itself of the Eid holiday, which happens to be 21st March 2026. Meanwhile, the entire Arab nation will begin the Eid holiday by tomorrow. And hopefully, the Bangsamoro government should be the sole authority for determining the Eid holiday. wherein on Saturday, or let's say a difference in one day would mean a localized Eid holiday in certain areas, especially in Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, and even in some areas that have significant Muslim population. And therefore, Eid holiday will begin by tomorrow technically as per presidential declaration. And that would be continuous until Saturday for some areas that we have mentioned. And likewise, for the next week, Mapping 101 Thursdays will be on a tour related guide, especially if you're within the Araneta City, wherein some of you might get lost in the process, especially if you're looking for a certain bus routes, especially that yours truly way back 2024 have gone into this city bus line 59 at its launch date, which happens to be June 2024. And incidentally, 15th June 2024 is the ServCon event at Hillmore. And hopefully, we could explore more of Quezon City, particularly in some areas where it has to be mapped, it has to be rectified, especially with the changing traffic directions that we have to spot as early as possible before it becomes problematic. And now, that concludes this Mapping 101 Thursdays here on our DP24 General TV and Education TV channels. Whereas we are about to conclude this episode. So see you next week, live from Araneta City. Have a good night, sweet dreams, and always remember to be safe, be well, stay strong, stay sane, stay dry, and you are loved.
Isang love letter para sa'yo, Feast Servant. Servant mahal. Alam namin napapagod ka rin. Minsan nagdududa. Yung nakakapansin ba? Yung mga simpleng bagay na ginagawa mo, yung tahimik na dasal, yung pabor na hindi mo na mabilang, yung pagngiti kahit sa loob-loob mo, hirap. Yung pagtulong kahit walang pumapalakpak. Pero gusto namin malaman mo, nakikita ka. Ni Lord, at ng mga taong pinaglilingkuran mo. Sa bawat sakripisyo, sa bawat maliit na oo, nakikita ka. Hindi to tungkol sa dami ng ginagawa. Hindi sa laki ng posisyon, kundi sa laki ng puso. Sa pagmamahal mong hindi humihinto. Itong feast natin, ang tahanan na to, nabuo dahil sa mga pusong katulad ng sayo. Hindi to nagsimula sa ilaw, o sa tugtugan, o magandang LED wall. Nagsimula to sa isang taong nagsabi ng, sige, ako na lang. Nagambag, nagpakita, nanalangin, habang wala nakatingin. Tapos dumami tayo. May sariling feast, may sariling LG, may sariling service. At sa bawat kwento at usad ng oras, laging may servant katulad mo na punong-puno ng halaga. At kung makakalimutan mong mahalaga ka, eto ang paalala. Nakikita ka. At sa puso ng community na to, mahal